One of the institutional changes that is happening right now as we speak is TNFD.
Last December, governments at COP15 on biodiversity agreed that business should basically disclose, meaning should show their relationship to nature.
And so they should. I mean, nature is the foundation of our economies. Biodiversity, as the scientists call it, is the living fabric of this planet.
Yeah.
It's ecosystems, it's species, and all the genes that go into the species. And without that huge nature base, there's no way in which we can have a society or an economy. The question is, how do we measure and manage the impacts and the dependencies of business on nature? And if those impacts or dependencies entail risks, how do we inform the investors?
So when you say impact and dependencies, it means the relationship that a corporate organization has with nature.
Absolutely.
How much it contributes to affecting nature.
Correct.
And how much nature affects it, right?
Exactly.
So it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
And so the TNFD is a tool to try and help them do that.
Well, firstly, the four-letter word TNFD, by the way, stems from another four-letter word, and I'm sorry, there's lots of these around, which is called TCFD, the Taskforce for Climate-Related Financial Disclosure, which is actually 6 years old and is being very widely used. And it's successful, therefore. It is forcing an awareness, a standardized awareness of what you need to do to address your dependencies and your risks in climate. So we have the framework of TCFD, which is basically you must establish governance, you must state your strategy, you must have risk management at the core of your process, and you must have metrics to measure. And the same logic is being used, the same structure is being used by TNFD. And the next stage is, and that's specific to TNFD, which is the so-called LEAP framework, LEAP. LEAP means locate the nature, the biodiversity on which you depend or which you are impacting. And by the way, it could be a direct impact like a mining company or a forestry company or an agricultural company, or it could be an indirect impact. After all, you could be a large power producer in France and your emissions could be causing rainforest dieback in the Amazon or in Indonesia. So indirect impacts matter as well. So that's all about locate. Then you evaluate, like, how sizable is our impact, direct or indirect, on nature? How much, if it's the other way around, the dependency, do we depend on the benefits of nature? If we are an agricultural company, we are totally dependent on pollination services. If the pollinators die, God help us. Right? Maybe not even that. Mm-hmm. And that's the evaluate piece. And then it's a question of assess. Okay, what does this mean in economic terms? How much potentially can we lose if we lose nature and its supplies to the company? How much can we destroy nature by, and how much worse will it get for us and for everyone else if we continue to do what we are doing, which is a damaging path towards nature? And last and not the least is actually to put together the action plan, right? Which is to prepare for the change. P for prepare. Prepare for the change that you seek to make in your company so that you can reduce the negative impacts on nature, maybe even increase some positive impacts, and prepare potentially for alternatives in case the story does not improve. So this is what the TNFD is all about.
You've been working in that area of trying to give a voice to make nature visible for many years.
20 years now.
On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put TNFD when it's come to triggering change?
To triggering change, I think TNFD could be huge. It could be the sort of 8-9 category.
Wow.
But the challenge is implementation, right? Because when we say, measure your impacts, we still don't have a standard for valuing impacts. We need that standard. So it's not only TNFD. TNFD will provide you the roadway, but putting the traffic lights in place and putting the cars and buses or whatever is on the roadway, that's the job of other people. It's the job of regulators, standard setters, and of course, companies themselves to ensure that they use those standards and ensure that assurers audit them versus those standards. That's still work to do. That's why I wouldn't say it's 10, because TNFD depends on others to be able to be successful.
Right.
And we need the standards in place for impact valuation.